Okay, I'm here for the recap of the Portugal versus Switzerland match. I have a Mr. Samwise Gamgee with me. Yes, Mr. Bud. The littles have treats and he has a habit of stealing them. I think last time he stole 3. Didn't you? Yes, you did. That's why you're with mommy now. So let's recap this match, and oh my goodness. It's almost like there was a set limit of goals that were allowed today, and Portugal was like, yeah, we're going to take them all. This match was insane. So, I have to flip back multiple pages for my notes. So the biggest shocker, no, there was a lot of shockers. The match started out with a shocker, and that is that Cristiano Ronaldo, who has started every single knockout round match for the past 20 years for Portugal, started on the bench. Apparently, the reason for this is because he got in an altercation with the manager after or during the South Korea the loss that Portugal had to South Korea in the final group stage match. So yeah, I mean, he's the captain of the team and he started on the bench. It's just crazy. 16 minutes into it, the player who replaced him, this is only his 4th start for Portugal, he scored, I think it's Gonzalo Ramos. His last name is Ramos. And he made it 1-0 for Portugal. 28 minutes, in the 28th minute, a yellow should have been given to a Portuguese player for multiple fouls on the Swiss player Embolo. The Portuguese were clearly targeting him as a threat, and so they kept fouling him, and a yellow wasn't given. So one probably should have been given. He was being held. This was something that's not VAR reviewable, but you know, whatever. 32 minutes into the match, Pepe, who is 39 years old, he is the oldest non-goalkeeper to start a World Cup match in the history of the World Cup, not just for Portugal. The oldest non-goalkeeper, because goalkeepers can play for longer than the outfield players. Anyways, he scored for Portugal, making it 2-0. Not only is he considered an old man in soccer standards, this was only his 8th goal for Portugal, and he's been playing for them for a long time. His last goal for Portugal was in 2018, when he also scored that goal from a header. Well, he scored it was a header from a corner kick, which is just remarkable. The only reason he was starting in this World Cup is because he was replacing a player who had broken some bones, ribs, I think, and wasn't able to start. So just incredible. The 50th minute, Ramos scored again, which brought it 3-0 to Portugal. 5 minutes later, in the 55th minute, Rafael Guerreiro scored for Portugal. This was only his 4th goal in 60 appearances for Portugal. I mean, this was an incredible match. If you can find the replay, watch it. I mean, you have 2 days now with no World Cup, so if you can find a replay of this match, watch it. It's high entertainment. In the 57th minute, Akanji scored for Switzerland, making it 4-1. Sometime around this point, maybe around the 60th minute, the whole stadium started chanting for Ronaldo. They wanted him to be played. there's rumors about him having a $200 million a year contract with the Saudi Arabia club. I mean, the guy brings money. He's just, I mean, he's at the end of his career, but he still is a superstar. So the whole stadium started chanting for him. They paid for tickets because they wanted to see him. In the 66th minute, Ramos scored again, and that made a hat trick, the first hat trick of the tournament. And he brought the score 5-1 to Portugal. That young man had an amazing game, so amazing. And I think he's the future for the Portuguese team. And yeah, I hope they take advantage of that, and we'll try to figure out something that works. Both Ronaldo, I think Gracie stole one of their T words. Yeah, figure out a system where, I don't know if they could play both Ronaldo and Ramos at the same time. Like, their next opponent is Morocco. So who knows? Who knows what they're gonna do? In the 91st minute, Rafael Leao scored for Portugal and made it 6-1. I forgot to mention, when they did bring on Ronaldo, somewhere in the 70 minutes, somewhere in there, though maybe it was like 75 or so. I didn't write it down. The stadium went wild. I mean, it was loud. It was crazy. Everyone was excited to see him. He had several near attempts, but they just didn't work out, which is unfortunate on a night when everyone is scoring. So I feel bad for the Swiss goalkeeper, Jan Summers. Apparently there was a cold that was like going through the Swiss camp. He missed the previous match due to having it, and another player, that's Senegal news. I don't know why they're showing Senegal news today. Anyways, whatever. Another player missed today, and apparently several countries have had these problems today with, well, not today, this World Cup, with being sick and having colds. So that, of course, always sucks. I think there was one World Cup or Euros where Germany also had a cold that just went through the whole camp. And it's, I mean, when you're sick, you don't play as well, and that's just a fact. So I feel bad for Spain. This was an embarrassing scoreline for them, 6-1. I think it matches their biggest defeat ever in a World Cup stage. And I mean, you like hate to see someone go out like that, but I mean, it was a great match for Portugal. They just cut through the Swiss. I mean, I thought this was going to be an even match. I honestly was like, maybe it'll go to penalties. It's anyone's guess. And nope, it was dominant from Portugal. And I was like, Portugal was making a statement. We're here, and we want this World Cup. And the thing that's interesting about the World Cup that I always forget is that only 8 countries have ever won it. Brazil, and those countries, some of those countries have multiple wins. So it's like Brazil has multiple, Germany I think has 4, things like that. But it's only been those 8 countries. And it could be cool if like Portugal got it and another country finally wins the World Cup who hasn't won it before. That would be so awesome. And then Morocco has like the biggest fan base support there right now. That stadium is going to be electric when those two play each other, I think on Saturday. And so it's all just so exciting, and this was a great match to watch. Really, really recommend it. And if you don't, just at least watch the highlights. It was so good. I will come back in a little bit and do my predictions for the quarterfinals, but I have other matches I need to catch up on first, and this is the last video to get edited, so I will just do it at the end after I've watched all the matches. But yeah, great game for Portugal, very amusing. I've said that already. Sammy and I are going to say goodbye. Why is that your hair always in your face? Say bye-bye, Sammy. Bye-bye. Yeah, okay, I'll put you down. Talk to you guys later. Bye. Okay, I just finished watching Morocco versus Spain, and that was a fantastic game. Morocco gave a really good showing for themselves. Like, I was really quite impressed. Plus, Spain got eliminated on penalties, and they scored 0 penalties, which is humiliating for them, which I am glad for. Apparently, well, they went out in the last World Cup on a penalty shootout, too. I think at this stage of the World Cup, and the players were told they needed to take 1,000 penalty shots at club, like as homework, and they scored 0 penalties in this penalty shootout. I think there's a storm outside. The Moroccan goalkeeper, fantastic. Wow, I'd never heard of this guy before, but really impressed. I think his name's like Bono, which kept making me think of the singer. At the end, when they won the penalty shootout, they like dogpiled this guy, and then the Moroccan players, and then they like did that thing where you lift him into the air and you throw him up. Oh, it was so cool. So cool. I was so happy because Spain was eliminated, and I feel in a fairly humiliating way. And also, I mean, so if they did, which again, I'm not convinced that they did, but if they did rig things so that they would see Morocco instead of, who would they would have seen instead of Morocco? Was it Croatia instead of Morocco? Well, either way, both games went to penalties. So, anyway, I was working on my stocking during the match. I'm really impressed with how this is turning out. I've never done color work before, and I am just, I'm really super proud of myself. These need to be woven in, and I will get to that at the end. But look at that. I did color work. Proud of myself. Anyways, so, I have to be up in like, 3 hours for the next match that I want to watch. Anyway, so, in the first half, one of the commentators said that Spain had all the ball, but Morocco had the better chances. And this is true. At one point, it might even have been into the second half, there was a comment that for all their ball possession, Spain had only had 3 shots at the goal. And you can have the ball as much as you want, but if you're not going to shoot and score goals. So in the 4 matches that Morocco have played in the World Cup so far, they have only conceded 1 goal, and that was an own goal. So they've only scored on themselves. No one has scored on them, and that's really impressive. So this, some of the other comments I wrote down, because, I mean, no one scored, so I don't really have any goal scorers to update you guys on. But this said, that this is the first time that Morocco has ever gone into extra time in a World Cup. Sorry. The Morocco coach, he only took this job to be the manager of Morocco in August of this year. So only like 3 months before the World Cup, 3 to 4 months before the World Cup, he took charge. He brought out several players who had been frozen out, and a lot of people, he's only 42. He was a Moroccan national player before, and a lot of people questioned if he had enough experience, and I would say he's definitely vindicated himself. I didn't write these ones down, so I'm just going off the top what I remember. This is the first time an African nation has made it to the quarterfinals since Ghana did in 2010. So it's been 12 years, and this is the first time an African nation has gone this far. What's interesting about Morocco versus Spain is that they are only separated, the two countries, by 7 miles. The Strait of Gibraltar. So, I mean, they're really close to each other. The other thing is that this is only the second time that a country has failed to make a penalty shot in the penalty shootouts. So, yeah, Spain, you got that record now. Well, I guess it's you and one other country, but I think it might have been Switzerland in like 2002 or 2006. But yeah, I just like that Spain suffered. Really, that's all it comes down to. Well, except for the fans were so happy and the players were so happy after they did the lifting throwing thing that they did for the goalkeeper. They did that for their manager. I do feel bad for this one player Morocco brought in, and they brought him in specifically to take a penalty kick. Like they subbed him in with like 2 minutes of extra time left, so it was clear it was for penalties. And he didn't make his penalty. He's like, I think he was the only Morocco player that didn't make their penalty. And I feel so bad for him because, I mean, clearly that's why he was brought in and he didn't do it. So that always sucks. I'm not going to put his name and picture here. For one, I didn't write down. But for another thing, he doesn't need to be remembered for that. He gets to move on further with his country. And there was another player, I don't remember his name, but he plays for Morocco. But he was born, and his parents live in, I don't remember if his parents were born there too, but they live in Madrid. And he could have qualified to play with the Spanish national team. So, I mean, this is a player who, but they've got Moroccan roots, I believe. But he could have played for Spain, but chose to play for Morocco. And probably because, you know, when you're in a country as competitive as and big as Spain or England or Germany even, France. I might be hearing rain. Anyways, you have to be almost perfect all the time. It's so easy to get dropped because there's always someone there to take your place. Or you could just end up not playing in the World Cup. Like, you could just end up riding the bench. For example, there was one player who was subbed in at the last minute of this final game for Germany. And he had been to the 2014 World Cup. He'd been to the 2018 World Cup. And now this World Cup. And he hadn't gotten to play a single minute. But so he's good enough to make it to the national team. He technically is a World Cup winner because he went to the 2014 World Cup. And so even though he didn't play a second of it, he still got a trophy. He still technically won. And, like, you know, it takes a team to win a World Cup. Even the bench warmers who don't make it out, they're there at the practices and they're warming up, ready to be subbed on. So the the manager of Germany subbed him on in the last minutes after they knew that they couldn't make it through, just so he will have had a chance to play at a World Cup. And I mean, and that happens. And so sometimes players will choose to play for a smaller country that they also qualify for playing. I mean, like you've got the two Williams brothers. One plays for Ghana and one plays for Spain. The one who plays for Ghana, I mean, he's probably always going to play. He'll always get called up. The one who plays for Spain, if he stays in form and he continues to perform, then he's going to play for Spain. But if not, then, and I think he was only subbed on this time. Nico Williams came in the second half, I believe. And then they subbed him off for penalty kicks, I think, because they can only have players who have been playing at the end of the match when the final whistle is blown. It's only those players who can take the penalties. But anyway, so yeah, it was a good match. I need to stop rambling because I need to go to bed. Because I need to wake up in a few hours. So I will catch up with you guys later. And I'll get this update out as soon as I can. Bye.